Ruben Amorim's Manchester United have the opportunity to do something big. Win a game away at Anfield. Liverpool have started the season in pretty poor form. Despite being second in the Premier League, there are massive holes in their team right now. A poor press, nobody at number 6, and very open to the counter-attack. We're going to go through those 3 points today and break down why Liverpool are so bad and why Manchester United can beat Liverpool. Of course, if you are new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and check out today's sponsor of the video, which is Manscaped. But anyway, let's get this party started. So why are Liverpool so bad this season? Aside from changes in personnel, Slot's tactics in the current form are worse than his title-winning approach. In possession, we've seen both players in the double pivot vacate the number 6 position, either moving high or pulling into the wide areas. This causes a lot of problems, but the main two is it offers fewer short passing options for the deepest players and it creates a poor rest defence. So if the ball's turned over here, there are fewer defenders between the counter-attacking team and the goal. The latter is compounded by the qualities of Ryan Gravenberch and Alexis McAllister. Neither possess the athletic ability to recover quickly, thus are too slow to get back and stop the transitions. In the final third, Liverpool are struggling with the balance of their new look attack, but the wide areas have suffered the most. Without Trent at right back, Salah's role in the team is unclear, and this uncertainty hasn't helped with his poor form. Meanwhile, on the left, Milos Kerkez operates very high to allow Florian Wirtz or Cody Gakpo to operate inside, but this often drags McAllister wide to support the play. On paper, this is fine, but as we mentioned earlier, both defensive midfielders vacate the number 6 position, so if the ball is lost, there's a huge hole in the middle of Liverpool's shape to counter into. And finally, Arne Slot's pressing has lost the intensity of Jurgen Klopp. It's sluggish when pressing the ball high, which has made Liverpool very easy to play through. So let's start by talking about the first thing that Ruben Amorim and Manchester United can exploit, and that is the Liverpool press. Aggressively pressing a back three in a 2-2 shape. It's looked half-arsed and you can see it in the statistics. Tackles in the final third have dropped off 28% and shots following a defensive action are 3 times less frequent. And from a basic perspective, Slot is really struggling against a 3-4-3 structure. Pressing with 4 players in a 2-2 just doesn't make sense. So if we take a look at how Liverpool press these structures and systems, it opens up so many questions and not a lot of answers. So what you tend to see from Liverpool, let's say when the opposition have played down their right hand side, is Isak will press the ball, Mohamed Salah will sit in a bit of a halfway house, being able to press both outside centre back and centre back. You'll see the left winger move on to the number 6 and the number 10 on the number 8, creating this 2-2 structure. But this has caused Liverpool massive problems. Not only for me is it super ineffective in a sense of Szoboszlai jumping, it creates real problems for the rest of the team. Who picks up the wing backs, who picks up the number 10s, and this is why Liverpool have had a real problem. So what they've been doing in terms of the wide players, their fullbacks have been jumping high, almost creating a kind of back 3 structure. What we tend to see is Gravenberch drop in, maybe match the run of the opposition's left winger, and McAllister have to cover a lot of space with the opposition's number 10. This is so disjoint. Not only have you got players pushed up the pitch, outnumbered already, and that's not even including the goalkeeper, but you've got a central midfielder in the back line that's not very good under a high ball and not very quick. At the moment, this shape absolutely stinks. And as someone that had to watch a lot of Erik ten Hag's Manchester United, it has vibes of Ten Hagism, with an aggressive forward line but oceans of space in midfield. Good teams like you find in the Premier League will exploit this space. And Crystal Palace are one of those teams. They absolutely abused it, which is great news for Manchester United because Glasner's 3-4-3, there's similarities with Amorim's, and that is something Man United need to build on. So let's take a look at an example of Liverpool's 2-2 pressing structure against a back 3. We'll highlight why it is not working at the moment. So we pick up the play with Daniel Munoz in possession of the football on the right hand side. He's going to drop the ball into Kamada, and then it's going to get work to centre half. In terms of this is what we were talking about. Alexander Isak is pressing the football in the striker position. Salah's in a halfway house to pick up both the outside centre-back and centre-back. Florian Wirtz on Kamada. And Dominic Szoboszlai is picking up the other central midfielder, Adam Wharton. But the issue here is there's massive space if Crystal Palace or a team playing a back three can switch to play. This opens up big problems for Liverpool. They lack the intensity of a Jurgen Klopp side. Ryan Gravenberch is far too slow. This pass is pretty decent, but it's to his chest. Gravenberch should be in there, should be a lot closer and could turn the ball up high. What happens though is the chest control and the flick allows Adam Wharton to get behind Liverpool's midfield. This is very, very poor from Arne Slot's team. The ball's played into the channel for Jean-Philippe Mateta. He absolutely bullies Konate, nicks the ball and should score from this position. But the pressing structure at the moment for Liverpool is rubbish. Man United could do something similar down their right-hand side. Whoever plays left attacking midfield, either Mason Mount or Matheus Cunha, both players like to drop off the line and receive the balls to feet. What this means for Manchester United is they can fully draw in the Liverpool press. That being to Lenny Yoro at right centre-back, Isak applying the pressure on him, Florian Wirtz dropping inside with Dominik Szoboszlai, and Salah closing off the option to play wide. Again, we saw the messiness of Liverpool's defensive setup, a combination of man-to-man, which could really be opened up. Not only did we see Ryan Gravenberch be really slow to receive that pass, but Mason Mount has that quality to receive and then instantly play Bruno Fernandes back into midfield. From that position, not only do you have Benjamin Šeško as one runner through the middle, but also you've got the pace of Bryan Mbeumo on that right-hand side. These opportunities for Man United to work the ball into that kind of centre of the pitch area for Bruno Fernandes really need to be utilised. This is a massive hole in Liverpool's team at the moment that Amorim has to exploit. But also looking back at that Liverpool press, if you can carry from the outside centre-back positions, especially against Mohamed Salah, you can escape their press. It is so sloppy this season. So we pick up the play on 46 minutes. Liverpool have just had half-time. They should be energetic. They should be bouncing. They should be pressing, trying to get back into the game. But all it takes is a short pass from Dean Henderson and Mark Guehi to take possession and simply shift the ball to one side to take Salah out of the game. Consequently, that means that Liverpool's attacking midfielder needs to jump. Of course, it's Florian Wirtz now after some substitutions at half-time, which completely leaves their central midfielder Kamada free. This is woeful pressing. Those four players Man United need to exploit. Kamada's in massive amount of space, can carry through the middle of the pitch, similar to how Bruno or even Casemiro could do against Liverpool. Still no pressure on the football, simple through ball in behind the defence. One of the important things for Manchester United is using their wide players as runners. We're talking Bryan Mbeumo mainly. Sarr had a lot of opportunity to get in behind from number 10. We can see how the strikers dropped off the line in Jean-Philippe Mateta. Sarr's providing that depth of the attack, makes the run in behind the defence, and Liverpool are in a shocking position from a very, very, very poor high press. Target Mohamed Salah in a defensive sense. The ball gets worked to the left winger in Pino. Early cross into the box. Daniel Munoz cuts the ball back and there should be someone there to fire the ball home. But this is so poor from Liverpool and something that Man United need to exploit. And Manchester United's 3-2 base in possession to create situations like this to free Bruno Fernandes. That being the ball to Luke Shaw to carry through to beat Mohamed Salah, draw in the pressure from Dominik Szoboszlai, which should free Bruno Fernandes on the pass to get him into these types of situations. Again, runners on the back line, runners out wide, just humongous problems simply by beating a man in the press that's become really lazy under Slot. But let's say that Slot adapts. He knows Bruno is a big threat and might want to directly deal with him. So let's say the pressing structure of, Szoboszlai jumping and Gravenberch maybe committing himself either further forward, kind of moving the positions around in the sense of Liverpool's back four dealing with United's front three, with McAllister being a spare man. United could still play through. If they commit another body forward, they've got similar problems. They lack a spare man in key areas. And that is where Ruben Amorim's system comes into play. We all know that Ruben Amorim likes to build out from the back, throwing a centre-back into midfield and consequently pushing Bruno Fernandes or the number 8 into an attacking midfield area. This will cause problems for Liverpool. Manchester United utilised this tactic to not only bounce it into midfield and free one of the outside centre-backs, but also into his feet and directly playing forward. This, once again, is a humongous problem for Liverpool's press. If, for example, they go with a similar structure, that kind of 2-2 base we spoke about, you've basically got a 3v 3v2 in attacking midfield. This is an area of the pitch that United really need to exploit, and we saw them do it against Manchester City. With Luke Shaw playing the ball back to Bayern, we see Man United move into their build-up structure. That being, of course, Matthijs de Ligt in central midfield. The two outside centre-backs wide, the goalkeeper creating a back three, with one of the central midfielders in Ugarte low and one of them high. Instantly, what we see in this situation is Manchester City's press bypassed. City's press this season is fundamentally better than Liverpool's, and Man United did it away at the Etihad, so they should do it away at Anfield. As soon as de Ligt checks his shoulder, he sees the pressure coming in from Phil Foden, plays quickly, with Bruno Fernandes opening up that space. Again, we see Rodri getting drawn a little bit wider, which opens up the perfect channel for de Ligt to find the feet of Amad Diallo, creating a 3v3 on the back line. If the pass is a little bit better, Man United probably should have taken the lead at the Etihad, but this exact same tactic of obviously at Anfield against Liverpool can be used in terms of the ball coming back from Luke Shaw, moving it into midfield, and de Ligt playing quickly forward. Let's say if Bruno Fernandes has pulled into a wide area and has drawn in Ryan Gravenberch, Mason Mount or Matheus Cunha could take up that central position to allow United to play quickly into the final third. Whether it's Liverpool, Man City or Sunderland, Amorim's system will create these types of chances if the players are brave. Which moves on to the next thing that Man United need to do against Liverpool, and that is going direct from deep. If Slot adapts his press even further and Liverpool players have their intensity up, or let's say even Konate goes aggressive on Bruno Fernandes and Liverpool move to, a narrow kind of back three and press super aggressive in the centre of the pitch, all is not lost. United might struggle to play through, but instead, Amorim has to do the option that's very simple and very safe, and that is going long into Benjamin Sesko and then looking to play for the second ball. Liverpool have struggled this season on second balls. One of their biggest strengths under Jurgen Klopp was their effectiveness in winning them in a defensive sense and offensive sense. But we saw Palace use these methods to great effect in their 2-1 win. Honestly, it should have been a cricket score. And one of the things Palace did really well is win the second ball. So let's say Liverpool against Manchester United are back in that back four shape. The ball goes up to Benjamin Sesko. Let's say Virgil van Dijk kind of dominates in the air. Man United are primed to win the ball back. From that position, of course, Liverpool will slightly drop off. They'll move back into a kind of a mid-block structure and then go from there in terms of their pressing. But what this should create for Manchester United is a good opportunity to play long passes. Let's say the balls work back to central midfield. United are back in kind of their 3-2 structure and Liverpool are waiting. Maybe they might be a little bit more aggressive, as we mentioned previously. Sat in that shape we mentioned before. But I think the big thing for Manchester United is going long in a lot of different parts of the game. One of the big things that I enjoyed from Crystal Palace was the direction of the back line. In terms of, as soon as LAKEY got the ball, he looked for long balls to the left-hand side of that shape. Of course, Dorgu is a good physical target, but also Mason Mount or Matheus Cunha have got the craft to attack that channel. And this is another area that Man United should exploit. So we pick up the play after Crystal Palace have gone long, they've won the ball back, they're now kind of just in their defensive third playing. But here's where United need to play direct passes into those areas. So as Richards goes back to LAKEY's feet, he's got acres of space. Again, we've got a broken pressing structure from Liverpool. This is something that they really need to deal with, otherwise they're going to fall down the table. So let's hope that happens. But in terms of the space that LAKEY steps into, you can see the danger on the Liverpool backline. If you notice, Ryan Gravenberch has dropped in at centre-back. He has tracked the run of Pino. The wing-back Mitchell on the far side, of course, is on the blind side of Conor Bradley. And again, Liverpool have a bit of a problem. The long pass comes in, Gravenberch doesn't deal with it, and Pino breaks just behind the Liverpool backline in the penalty area. This is a massive thing. That is one long pass from basically the middle of the pitch. No pressure on the football, ball over the top. Liverpool have got massive problems. The ball's worked back on the cutback. Munoz runs on the blind side of Kerkez, who's been pretty rotten this season, and gets a good shot on goal. He should score from this position. But again, United need to play direct out the back. Matthijs de Ligt in that centre-back position, and then runners on the back line. As well, the far side wing-back needs to attack the box. In Amad Diallo, United have got a good option who can come in onto that left foot and work those cutbacks. But the threat is there against Liverpool, and United need to play direct. And I think looking at the team selection that Arne Slot will go with against Manchester United, Frimpong is a target for long passes. Naturally, he is a wing-back. He's used to basically camping high up the pitch. So in a defensive sense, there is massive space to exploit. But I think the same thing happens if Conor Bradley plays. United need to target the right-hand side of Liverpool's defence with long passes. Konate is having a big wobble. You can see the likes of Benjamin Šeško getting into those positions, but also Dorgu. These two players United need to utilise with direct passes. And that chance for Munoz that we just looked at, you'd back Ahmad to score that. In fact, Ahmad actually scored from a very similar kind of position at Anfield last season. But also going back to Manchester United and Lomond, he should go direct when the ball is at his feet, looking for Benjamin Šeško, either for flick-on to Bryan Mbeumo or playing off the second ball as we spoke about before. Second ball's now a viable tactic against Liverpool. The fundamentals that Jurgen Klopp brought to the football club seem to have vanished, and Liverpool players just don't look switched on at times. Something that can be very bad when you're competing for second balls. Again, Crystal Palace exploited this. The ball at the feet of Dean Henderson, I'm having one thing in his mind, and that is to go long. Mateta getting up and challenging Virgil van Dijk. But look at that overload in central midfield for the second ball. A 3v2 created by Kamada, moving high and joining the attacking midfield line. This allows them to recover the ball. Naturally, if you have more players competing for the second ball, number one, you can instantly press and be aggressive, but number two, the ball is more likely to drop at your feet. And that's exactly what we see here, with Kamada picking up the ball. Instantly, Liverpool have got a problem. The defenders are backing up, the fullbacks are too high, which allows them to move the ball quickly through Sarr to Daniel Munoz on the overlap to cut the ball back. This really should have been another goal for Crystal Palace, but those types of situations, Manchester United can't create. Being combative and challenging for the ball is something that United have worked on. Since the start of last season, Man United have made more tackles plus interceptions than any other team in the Premier League, and only Bournemouth have made more ball recoveries. Amorim is improving Man United. And as well, Lomond went long in his Premier League debut against Sunderland. In fact, his 33 long passes was the most in a single Premier League game for a Man United goalkeeper since the start of last season. And what was super refreshing against Sunderland is when Man United went long and Šeško didn't win the second ball, positionally they were ready to pounce. Again, we saw Bruno Fernandes in a higher position, Mason Mount and Bryan Mbeumo nice and narrow. Again, just taking this Liverpool game as an example, you are creating that overload in midfield. You don't need to win that first ball against Virgil van Dijk, you just need to win the second. So let's take an example from the game against Sunderland. Lomond's going long to Benjamin Šeško, who doesn't even compete for the ball. But as we can see here, Man United have got a 2v1. Kobbie Mainoo in this moment, of course, is playing as a number 8. He's moved high. Bruno and Cunha in attacking midfield. But of course, a 2v1 situation, United win the second ball and get into the final third in a really good position. This is something that United need to do against Liverpool. And going long to a striker is a big game tactic we've already seen United deploy this season. Versus Chelsea, Bayern goes long to Šeško, the flick on Bryan Mbeumo brings it down, he's taken out by Sanchez, and United are playing 10 men. And a big positive over the last few games is United are starting to get to grips with Šeško. He's starting to get the best out of him with goals in back-to-back games before the international break. It's not just Benjamin Šeško who's recently arrived in the Premier League, but Manscaped's latest lawnmower has finally arrived overseas. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra comes with Manscaped's safe skin technology to reduce the risk of nicks, cuts and irritation, and it's waterproof. What's more is it comes in a clean white and gold finish that looks as good as it shaves. From ball deodorant to trimmers to shampoo to beard oil, Manscaped really is the one-stop shop to improve your grooming. So if you want to keep everything looking tidy downstairs, join the 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Use the code STATMAN for 15% off your entire order at manscaped.com. That's 15% off with the code STATMAN at manscaped.com. But anyway, back to the video. And the final thing that Man United need to exploit is the lack of natural defensive midfielder in Liverpool's team. Their rest defence is rubbish this season. There is so much space on the centre of the pitch. So when we're looking at Liverpool this season, what we tend to see on the left-hand side is the winger moving inside in Florian Wirtz. We see the fullback in Kerkez go on the outside. We see McAllister consequently pull over to that space. But also we see a lot of rotation from the likes of Salah, Szoboszlai and Ryan Gravenberch. What this creates is a really badly balanced team. So in terms of those movements we just spoke about, let's move Liverpool into those positions. So we've got Florian Wirtz inside, Szoboszlai kind of high next to Isak, and Ryan Gravenberch once again operating in between the lines. But the big problem especially is Liverpool's fullbacks. They're a humongous issue. Letting Trent Alexander-Arnold go is the biggest problem in this Liverpool squad right now. The back four, if it's Frimpong or Bradley, operate in a kind of right back position. Kerkez usually plays quite high. But what you tend to see is McAllister taking up these really weird wide positions, which means Liverpool have nobody in defensive midfield. So for Manchester United, it's not a kind of 5-3-2 shape in terms of what we've seen in other games. They need to drop back to that 4. It's really important what those outside midfielders do. So in terms of the pressure that comes from Manchester United, of course it either comes from Benjamin Sesko or alternatively it needs to come from central midfield. This is massively important for United. So before we talk about the why, let's look at an example and break down what Liverpool are doing this season in possession. So pick up the play after they've progressed the play to halfway. Palace very much sitting in a 5-4-1 block with Mateta, Sat and Gravenberch in this moment. But just as the play evolves, just watch what happens for Liverpool. So Gravenberch's in a position to receive a natural number 6 position. He's going to move the ball around, but there is no options for him to play into feet. Palace have completely shut that down. They're sat a little bit deeper, but they've cut off all the options. So as Ryan Gravenberch moves it to Konate to the side, Liverpool are building, they're being patient, but once again, there is no options to play. And I think this is a perfect screenshot in terms of looking how the pressure needs to come from United. Not from the wide players, from central midfield. So just watch how Kamada's the one to press the ball. He's the one to go out and squeeze and put pressure on Konate. Notice as well that Pino on the left wing has tucked himself in. Arguably Palace at the moment, you're in a bit of a 5-3-2 structure. But really important that you're closing the space, blocking the passes. Kamada's pressed out, so Szoboszlai is in his cover shadow, so you're in a good position. What this forces Liverpool to do is go back once again. You're cutting down the passes. Sarr, the number 7 just near the referee, is nice and narrow. This forces Liverpool into positions where they can't play through the lines. United need to do this. And as soon as Van Dijk comes back inside, this is actually what you want to force. You want to force either Konate or Van Dijk to carry out and potentially, get tackled by the central midfielder, or alternatively, you want to force the switch. Because naturally when you play a back 5, you want opposition to do this to you because usually that's where you've got a spare man. Your back 5 has the width of the pitch. And we see the consequent movement from the wing back in Mitchell, who's jumping out on that long pass. It's got a longer transmission phase, a long switch versus a pass on the floor. Gurhi's going to jump onto Mohamed Salah, but already Mitchell's won the ball. Pino's in behind the defence. And now you have a monumentally bad problem. The counter-attack is on, Mitchell's joining in. The ball gets played behind the defence and it's blocked and it goes out for a corner. This leads to the goal that Palace score from a corner, and it's great play from Oliver Glasner's men and something that United need to adopt. So just looking at that from a tactical perspective, what we mean here is Bruno Fernandes in this position. Let's say if Konate carries out on the dribble, Bruno Fernandes is the player that has to go and meet that. But consequently, what you want to see is a narrowness from both of the wide players coming in and creating arguably a 3-man midfield with Bruno Fernandes being the aggressor. So what we've got here is, Casemiro potentially operating a little bit more narrow, Mason Mount operating a little bit more narrow, and you're really trying to block those passes, to basically all players. Let's say if there's a player in between the lines as well, you've got to jump. You've really got to jump and be aggressive from all of the back 3. That's both the outside centre-backs and the middle centre-back, if, for example, the 9 is not in his position. But it's all about squeezing the ball and trying to turn it over, either directly through Bruno Fernandes or forcing Virgil van Dijk into a long pass, again, both sides, and winning that back at wing-back. United especially are geared to do that well on the left-hand side with Dorgu. So let's take a look at the other example that's directly winning the ball back through a tackle. Once again, Liverpool are being ponderous on halfway. Their shape is absolutely rubbish in my opinion. There's nobody there to receive at number 6. Konate doesn't really have any options. They're all picked up in a man-to-man way. If you jump ahead of, let's say, Ryan Gravenberch, turn the ball over, very, very dangerous. And I mentioned before, McAllister's taking this super wide position as almost a left half that doesn't make any sense from a tactical perspective. As Konate drives forward, once again we see that pressure from central midfield, using their cover shadow to block the pass in behind. Already can see Pino is in a good narrow position. Konate doesn't really have any options, so he tries to carry, and of course he's in a real problem. He should really use the ball back to Virgil van Dijk, but again Mateta's there straight away to pounce and potentially intercept the ball. And Kamada works really hard and intercepts it, and Mateta is free. And you've got a 5v5 once again on Liverpool. But more worryingly, it could be a 4-on-2 if the two wide players, number 5 and number 3 highlighted here, can break forward. They can move it to Sarr, who carries into the box and fires it back, and Pino really should score. Big opportunities that United can create. And that, of course, just looking at that situation was, forcing Konate, after, let's say, carrying out the ball for a bit, into a direct challenge, and you're of course covering that central midfield area with the wide players tucking in. Again, Liverpool can be so exploited in these moments. There are so many ways you can catch Liverpool in their build-up because of the weird movements of their 2-6s. McAllister pulling left and Gravenberch moving high. Ample opportunity for United to steal the ball wide. Even if they don't score directly from those situations, set pieces have been a massive weakness for Liverpool this season. Only West Ham United have conceded more goals from set pieces than Liverpool. We're talking corners and long throws. Target the back post. 3 of the 4 set piece goals Liverpool have conceded have come on the back post. And you look at what United have done recently from set pieces, there's been a little bit of improvement. We scored a goal from a long throw. But anyway, there's a lot of analysis here. There's a lot of things that Liverpool aren't doing very well. United have to do the things well to win this game, especially considering how well they've done in big games, but they've simply not taken their chances. This is a humongous opportunity for Ruben Amorim. Liverpool at the moment, for me, just look very, very poor. I think the intensity and the quality of the pressing structure that Jurgen Klopp built has massively fallen away. I think they've got lack of legs in midfield in McAllister and Ryan Gravenberch, who's really bad going towards his own goal. But United fans especially need to take the reaction out of the result. There's been improvement this season under Amorim, especially at home. You've got to remember, United have had the hardest opening 8 games in the Premier League. They have. That is fact. We have forgotten about that. And after Liverpool, United have played last season's top 4, including away games at Anfield and the Etihad. It's a work in progress this season. There's things United could do in this game to beat Liverpool. Do I think they'll do it? Yes, there's an opportunity to do it. But we've seen United not take the opportunities. Once again, that's about the player, not about the system and structure. I believe Ruben Amorim will get it right at Anfield. The players have now got to get the job done. It's as simple as that. But anyway, guys, interesting video today. I've enjoyed it. Why Liverpool are so bad this season and why Man United can beat them at Anfield. If you're new around here, of course, make sure you subscribe. Check out Manscaped, of course, the greatest collection of things on the planet to keep downstairs very, very trim. But anyway, I'm Statman Dave. Subscribe and see you later.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel?